All right, and welcome into the Fantasy Pros Fantasy Football Podcast. It's the Week 16 Start-Sit episode where we'll help you get locked in for the fantasy semifinals. I'm your host, Seth Woolcock, joined by two of the top rankers in the game. And no, it's not Mike Meyers. Instead, we're going to be settling for the stylings of the Athletics' Jake Ciely. Jake, how are you down there in Virginia Beach as the Christmas preparation begins?
Trying to figure out the weather, going from 20 degrees to 60 degrees for the next 2 days. I know people are complaining about, oh, you guys 60 degrees. I'm like, well, I want some kind of consistency, but I'm doing good at least at a tight end position. I was the only person to have Colby Parkinson as a tight end one last week, which means you know what's going to happen. As the time that people are watching this on Friday, it probably means he put up 3 points on Thursday night.
Yep, Terrence Ferguson week. That's lock it in. That's what I think about the Rams tight end situation. But excited about Parkinson. We'll see him here on Thursday night. We're also joined by a man who is such a veteran of both the fantasy industry and the Christmas game that he used to actually spend entire days in the mall every December fighting for the latest trendy gifts. He's Pat Fitzmaurice. Fitzy, how are you? Do you miss the in-person Christmas chaos, or have you kind of settled into the online shopping life?
Oh, I've definitely settled into the online shopping life, Seth. I do not miss the last-minute shopping at malls, and I was absolutely a last-minute mall shopper, and that was just, that was a descent into hell. So I'm glad those days are over.
I'm with you there, man. I still have a good bit of Christmas shopping left to do. I think Saturday we have a full slate of NFL games, college football playoff games on. I'm just going to tune in there, sit in the recliner, and just have Amazon up all day. And that's pretty much what's on the agenda for me. Did your kids miss like the Tickle Me Elmo fad? Because I heard that was apparently one of the craziest times to be a Christmas shopper. Yeah,
they were past that. I mean, there were definitely other trendy things we had to get, video games for my son, and I forget all sorts of things for my daughter. But yeah, I don't miss that, like the things that you have to get this or your child's Christmas is going to be a bust. Like that was pressure, man.
Yeah. Jake, you look like someone who might have missed out on like a PS5 and had to do like a back alley deal for one. Have you ever been in that type of situation before?
No, not even that. Like so I was sitting here surprised at the fact that like you guys wait till the last minute. Like I'm the type of person that was always done with Christmas shopping in like October.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, the pre-orders where I was able to get like a second PS3 and then sell it on eBay. I was that dude. I was about to say I was that blank and get bleeped out for it. Just say like it sounds like dude, but it's not dude. I was that jerk. We'll put it that. But I never did like 5 or 10 or 20 of them, but that's okay. Like if I come off extra ornery, everybody today, my pup is at the vet, got into chalk. Not my fault. I am a very good dog dad, and that's why I'm a little ornery and pissed off about it. So like if I'm extra ornery, people know that like it'll fight. But yeah, everything else is good. The Christmas shopping for Nicole and everything was done weeks ago.
Good. Well, prayers up to the pup as well, man. Hoping for a speedy recovery there. We know those vet visits, especially during the holiday season, no fun at all. But what is fun?
Great time too.
Yeah, right. I think I had my cat in the emergency ER back on Memorial Day, so I completely understand the stress it adds. But hopefully we can break away for that for just a little bit here. We have a loaded show for everyone. Start sits this week for the popular waiver wire ads, the flag plant players, plus more start sit debates than Richie Rich has Christmas presents under the tree this year. Quick shout out as well to everyone who's spreading a little holiday magic with us, either on the Fantasy Pros YouTube channel or the audio feed. We really appreciate all the support so far this season. Please do us a quick favor, give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed this type of content. Also, make sure you subscribe to the channel if you're new. Help us get over 300,000 subscribers. That's all I want for Christmas this year, so don't be a Grinch. Help us out on that. Also, be sure to
Christmas.
There you go. Jake's in the spirit already, and be sure to check out our weekly and rest of season rankings at fantasypros.com/rankings. Also, some rookie rankings should be up there in the new year as well. And gentlemen, let's start out with whether we're starting or sitting this week's popular waiver wire ads, and it starts with Michael Carter, ECR, RB28. Bam Knight is out. Trey Benson not coming back, so we'll be Michael Carter the rest of the way in Drew Petzig's offense. He saw 18 total touches last week, good for 13.4 fantasy points. Can he have similar success or perhaps even more against the Falcons this week, Jake?
I guess I love him because I have him at 26. I will say, I don't care what the ranking might be. I will say I'm not actively trying to slam him into my lineup, if that makes sense. I think people might need him, and I think that this matchup's not as scary as it was for the first half of the season. The Falcons' defense has been more vulnerable, and especially against the run as of recent. So I think it's actually a positive matchup. But the problem here is what we've seen before. I'm not afraid of DeMercado, but if they do get more pass happy, maybe they fall behind, which I know everybody's like, well, that's what we love Jacoby Brissett for. We want him to fall behind and throw a bunch. But maybe if they fall behind, you start to see DeMercado get a few more share of the snaps. Not that Michael Carter's not a bad pass catcher. It's just you might see the split being 60-40 and start getting closer to 50-50. So that's the risk. I think he can have another solid performance. I have him right there on the heels of Ashton Jeanty, and I didn't see the schedule to see if we're talking about him, but that's how bad things are for Jeanty right now. But like I said, I think the biggest thing is I'm not actively trying to say I need to get him on my lineup, but you might need to get him in my lineup or your lineup. So that's why I have him just outside the RB2 range.
Pat, this Cardinals backfield has been pretty gross all season since James Conner went down and then Trey Benson goes down. We thought it was Michael Carter initially going to be the next man up. Turns out it was Bam Knight. Now we've kind of done a little yo-yo and we are back to Michael Carter. How do you feel about him in semifinals week?
Yeah, you said it. The Arizona backfield has been really tough to read ever since the Trey Benson injury. And last week, Bam Knight got hurt on the Cardinals' first offensive play. And after that, it was 53 snaps for Michael Carter and 7 for Amari DeMercado. So, like Jake said, I think it's possible this is more 60-40 or even 50-50 this week. Who knows? Because it has been hard to read. But I do think Michael Carter is going to be pretty heavily involved, and he does have dual run-catch ability. And after having a pretty decent game against a tough Texans D last week, now he gets a matchup against the Falcons that's probably at worst neutral. So right now I have, this might be really aggressive. I have Michael Carter ranked RB19, but wow. I'm going to be paying attention to the Cardinals beat writers this week to see if they, pass along anything about the possibility that there's a much heavier dose of Amari DeMercado this week. And if there isn't, I'll back down a little bit on that ranking for Carter. But as of now, based on what we saw last week, I think you have to assume that Carter is going to get a clear majority of the work.
Okay. Wow. Michael Carter, top 20 running back potentially for Pat. This is where we are, folks. And, I put out a social media post earlier this week that I really think this year of all the years of fantasy, as of at least the last decade or so, the best team might not win, right? It's going to be the manager who's willing to make the right start-sit call, the manager who's willing to go out and find a flyer off the waiver wire. And another one of those flyers is Audric Estime of the Saints. He's coming in right now, ECR RB35. He was 42 late last night when I was starting to put this together. He has been moving up since we have the out rolling for Devin Neal. And if you had a bowling ball on your Christmas list, that's what you're getting here from Audric Estime. This is a guy, a bit of a plotter type of running back, not a very strong pass catcher, at least what we saw from his time there in South Bend. He's likely going to be the starter this week, though. No Devin Neal. Alvin Kamara still likely on the shelf as well. Beautiful matchup, though, right? As good as it gets here against the New York Jets. They've allowed 11 touchdowns to running backs over the past month alone. Fitzy, everyone has smashed against the Jets this season. But with fantasy championships up for grabs, are you trusting this former Irish?
I think you could trust him, Seth. The only issue is that after Devin Neal left the game last week, Estimé and Evan Hull split work pretty evenly. Yeah. And it was kind of interesting that Estimé had 3 catches for 39 yards and Evan Hull had no catches, considering that Estimé had 26 catches in his college career and Evan Hull had 94.
Yeah, right.
Evan Hull was a pass-catching back at Northwestern when he played here in my backyard, and Estimé was just kind of a banger. So I'm not sure how this split is going to work out, and maybe Taysom Hill is involved too, which is always annoying. But Estimé was definitely the more accomplished college runner, and Jake might have more thoughts on this since I think he's a Notre Dame guy. And we saw last week that Estimé can catch passes too, that he's capable and has that in his skill set. So like you said, great matchup against the Jets defense that's given up the second most fantasy points to running back. So I have Estimé ranked RB34. I do think he's sort of in that flex realm.
Okay. Jake, I will never forgive Evan Hull because I had him on my roster a couple years ago. Before week 1, I had to make the tough decision. Do I cut Puka Nacua or do I cut Evan Hull?
Oh.
And I went the wrong way on that one, needless to say. So how do you think this backfield shakes out for the Saints?
Yes, the Notre Dame situation is that I really didn't believe in Estimé. I don't believe in a lot of Notre Dame running backs because they have a lot of the benefit of running behind one of the best offensive lines year after year after year in that offense. And then, of course, some of the scheduled players that they face or teams that they face. So I was never an Estimé guy, and everything that Fitz just said is part of the thing I was looking at is that it was split, and that is it going to be Evan Hull in front of Estimé? But I think here's the question that I just need to ask everybody else. Do you need to be this desperate? Because I think my answer is no. I am making a statement, quote unquote. I have Estimé at 46. I have Evan Hull at 53. And that's with no Devin Neal. My point is, don't start him. I just don't. I would start Charbonnet. I would start Jordan Mason. I would start... Pacheco got back in the lead. He didn't look very good, but he was back in the lead against, I am just not chasing this backfield because, yes, it's a great matchup, as you mentioned, but what if it's Tyler Shuck? What if Shuck turns into, Bo Nix, Jackson Dart this week, which he already has flashed at times? What if Taysom Hill gets another 8 to 10 touches like he has in the past out of the backfield? And that's what I'm saying. I do have Estimé ahead of Evan Hull because I don't really necessarily believe in Hull either. And I'm sure one of the two will probably surprise and get 15 touches and make us all look dumb. But my point here is just you're in the playoffs. You don't need to be chasing this. If you're talking about a 16-team league, okay, fine, Estimé, but that's where I am an RB4, but it's more of the fact that it's not so much that it's Estimé's at 46. It means he's terrible. It just means I'd rather start Tyler Algier in a split backfield before chasing the Saints.
Okay, fair enough. Let's go to another running back who is probably available in most leagues right now. Jawhar Jordan for the Houston Texans, ECR RB66. We're not sure the status of Woody Marks, but he was a DNP on Wednesday. But if he can't go, expect a healthy dose of Jordan, who was elevated to the active roster this week after spending some time on the practice squad. He's been with the Texans since coming out of Louisville as a 6th-round pick in 2024. He saw 17 touches last week. He now gets the Raiders. Jake, will you be starting or sitting Jordan if Woody isn't up for this one?
I think for me, Nick Chubb has to be out as well. I would have Jordan in front of Nick Chubb, but the veteran, somebody that they continue to go back to time and again this year, and it took the bye week, and then we saw that the Emeka Ryans was they're not rookies anymore, and I put that in quotes because that was actually his quote, is the fact that that we finally saw Woody Marks despite flashing throughout the year. So if there is no Marks and no Nick Chubb, I would pretty much slide Jordan into where I had Devin Neal before this, right around RB20, because I think they're similar running backs, honestly. My comparison for Jordan coming out of college was Antonio Gibson, Jerick McKinnon type. And that's in the fact that I don't think he's a true bell cow, run between the tackles, slam between the tackles all the time. But when you're getting that kind of volume, and the Texans have been markedly better in the second half of the season, including their offensive line, it's still not amazing, but it's much better than it has been. He would slide it. If Devin Neal was playing, Devin Neal would be right around 21, 22. And I think that if you just took Woody Marks out and took out Nick Chubb, that would be around the spot that I would put him. So he's probably playing in that scenario on a lot of my teams.
Pat, I have rode Jawhar Jordan in some preseason DFS lines when I'm trying to get real nasty with it. This is not preseason DFS, though. This is with fantasy championship bursts on the line. Do you trust him if there is no Woody?
If there's no Woody and no Chubb, I do trust him, and I'm saving a little spot here in my rankings for him. I guess it would be right now I've got Woody in my rankings, but if I take Woody out, I'm going to have Jordan at running back 24, nestled right in between Aaron Jones and Ashton Jeanty. Yes, Jordan is going to be ahead of Ashton Jeanty.
Oh man,
against the Texans, as gross as that seems, but
so.
He's going to get a huge volume of work in a really plus matchup in a game where the Texans are favored by more than 2 touchdowns. And I would expect Darren Waller to get a little bit of work on passing downs. But, it's probably going to be close to 20 touches for Jordan, and that's hard to pass.
You know what's funny? I was looking like, because I missed the sheet, obviously, with everything going on this morning, and I was going to throw out like, would you have him versus this player versus this? And I'm looking through the sheet, and basically Seth has every running back that was probably coming to mind here. So we're going to talk about all of them at some point.
Hey, that's why they pay me, right? That's the job, and appreciate you there. And Jake, a lot like your graphic tee collection, some things are never going out of style, and that includes Darren Waller, right? The rapper turned back tight end. He's turned back the clock. He scored 25.6 fantasy points last week in Pittsburgh on 7 receptions, 66 yards, 2 tutties as well. And now he gets the gold matchup, right? The Cincinnati Bengals. I mean, I can remember back in like 2019, I think it was, the Cardinals, like they were such a smash spot for tight ends. Cincinnati is, I think, even a better matchup, right? And the only issue, though, now for Darren Waller is we have rookie quarterback Quinn Ewers out of Texas, our guy Scott Bogsman's favorite quarterback. He's under center. So that said, Fitz, what's your confidence level on Darren Waller in lineups?
Not super high, because I just can't trust Quinn Ewers to get Waller a touchdown catch, and that's where Darren Waller has derived so much of his fantasy value. He has been touchdown dependent. 6 touchdowns in 7 games, that's great, but Waller's just not a high-volume pass catcher. He's averaging 2.9 catches and 34.7 receiving yards a game. So, and I know the Bengals are terrible against tight ends, but I've said this on a couple of other shows. Like, does that really count with Darren Waller? Is he a tight end? Because the Dolphins sort of use him as more of a wide receiver. So, I mean, is Greg Dulcich the guy who benefits from this? I don't know. But I'm sort of breaking ties against Darren Waller this week because of the Quinn Ewers factor. So I'm below ECR on Waller.
Okay. Jake, I don't know if you've seen a lot of viewers, but my brother, for whatever reason, he's a Texas Longhorn fan despite living like 45 minutes from State College. But so I've seen a lot of this guy, and I kind of know what we're expecting here at the NFL level might be a little differently. How do you think he impacts Waller this week, and what will Waller be in lineups?
Yeah, I mean, you're going to learn. I've been doing some stuff with Fitz in the off seasons for years, and Bogman too. Like, so I am heavily into the rookies. I do my top 70 to 80 just for the skill sets. So I'm saying that they'll be like, haha, look at me. I'm saying like, I know him and I'm about to present something to you since you said you watched a lot of him. I'm curious if you agree. My comp for him was lesser arm strength Sam Darnold. That's what I thought of Quinn Ewers. That without?
Yeah, I think that's pretty good.
And my point with that is it's not like Tua's been great. Like everybody's like, what are you doing, Jalen Waddle? What are we doing, Devin A. Chain? I'm like, knock him down 1 or 2, maybe 3 spots. It's not like Tua's been balling out. And Quinn Ewers, hey, speaking of your preseason DFS lineups, Quinn Ewers flashed a little bit in the preseason. And I'm not ready to say he's going to take over and be the future and be so much better. He might just be Tua. But that's kind of my argument. It's like, if he is just Tua, who had been playing terribly, he can still support the offense. With Fitz, I am actually above consensus, not by much, but I'm slightly above consensus with Waller. But that's because I had Waller already in front of Travis Kelce and Goddard and Fannin. And with the change, just because while I think Ewers can support the offense, there's no guarantee he's going to use Waller as much. Like, Ewers just might see Waddle 10 times out of 15. Well, he might just look to the other pieces like Malik Washington and Westbrook Akeem. Like, you just don't know where Ewers is going to feel comfortable turning. And that's why I bumped down Waller about 2 or 3 spots at tight end. He's still top 10 tight end for me, though, just because I'm willing to chase the touchdown ceiling. I have him just in front of like Harold Fannin and kind of in a toss-up with Goddard. Well, I don't know that we can trust Goddard in and out every single week. And sure, 14 targets is amazing, but 14 targets is like still only 60 yards in that offense.
Yeah, and just to piggyback on something Jake said, that's a really interesting, the comp with sort of a weaker armed Sam Darnold. You know, part of the issue with Darnold is if you can pressure him, he turns into a lesser quarterback, and I think that's kind of what we saw with Quinn Ewers in college. And, you know, they're going against the Bengals, who, although the Bengals have been a pretty more difficult matchup for quarterbacks and receivers than you might imagine, it's not really because of their pass rush.
Right.
And if Quinn Ewers is kept clean, I mean, he had some great games at Texas where he was in a clean pocket for most of the game and picked defenses apart. So maybe if the Bengals pass rush can't get home, then I don't think anyone really wants to start Quinn Ewers in their fantasy semifinal, but at least that would make Waddle and Waller more viable.
Well, at least Quinn Ewers might care, right? Tua was very happy dapping up and chatting with Jalen Ramsey after this loss. I think that might have honestly got him a seat on the pine. But, gentlemen, let's move forward to the flag plants. But first, a real quick reminder that today's show is brought to you by our presenting sponsor, Hard Rock Bet. Are you out of your fantasy football playoffs but still want to get in on the Week 16 action? No problem. Just head over to the Hard Rock Bet app today. They even just launched a brand new For You page, making it easier than ever to bet on your favorite teams, players, and leagues in just a few simple taps of the screen. Open up the app, fire up the For You page, and just like that, you can click on your favorite bets, and then you can get back to your Christmas presents and your holiday movie watching experience. Sign up today and bet $5 on any game, and if it wins, you're also going to score yourself $150 in bonus bets. A winning bet plus extra $150 in bonus bets. Now, that's what I call holiday cheer, folks. Plus, Hard Rock Bet fills up your stockings with new promos every single day. So whenever you're listening, just open up the app, check out what they've got going on for you. Download the Hard Rock Bet app today and make your first deposit. All right, guys, let's go ahead to your flag plant players, starting with you, Fitz. Where are you heading in this do or die week?
Jacoby Brissett. In his 9 games as a starter for the Cardinals, Jacoby Brissett is averaging 42.8 pass attempts, 28.4 completions, and 300.9 passing yards a game, and 2 touchdown passes a game. And Brissett has had at least 40 pass attempts in all but 2 of those 9 starts. He is QB4 in fantasy points per game since becoming the Cardinals starter, and QB12 last week against the Texans. And that defense is just nasty, and now he gets the Falcons a neutral matchup at worst. And I figure the Cardinals are probably going to be pass heavy again because they have so many injuries at running back. It's a prime spot for Jacoby Brissett, and who would have thought he would look like a guy you could ride confidently into the fantasy playoffs.
Every season.
Where do you have him ranked?
Yeah, where do you have him ranked, Pat?
QB8.
Okay.
Oh, why do you hate him?
Are you higher, Jake?
5th.
5.
Wow. Nice.
Why not? I mean, I trust him more than Dak and Goff and Stafford and why not at this point?
I got to hand my flag over to Jake and let him plant it for me.
No, I still love it. I was curious where you had him ranked.
You were like Mario jumping onto the flag, and Luigi just came from behind you and jumped over you to claim it there. Jake,
I cleared it.
It feels like every year we do get these quarterbacks, right, that kind of just pop off late season. You can run them to a fantasy football championship. I remember a couple years ago, Baker Mayfield was that guy. Yeah. Now it seems to be Jacoby Brissett. Jake, with your flag plant player, where are you going? And it's one you're going to have to convince me into, because I was all in on this player last week. I took the receiving yards prop. I laddered it up. I thought the smash game was coming. It didn't. Why is it here in week 16?
Because you saw it. It was starting to finally happen. It's Justin Jefferson. And I'll give you the list of times that a wide receiver has failed to score a touchdown against the Giants. Eagles, way back before the turn of the season, and week 1, Deebo Samuel rushing touchdown, but no receiving touchdowns all the way back in week 1. The Giants secondary is vulnerable. The Giants secondary gives up touchdowns. We saw how bad it was for the Commanders, and then they also didn't need to pass much, and they still got the one late to Terry McLaurin. But also, I go back to it, is like what we saw it. We saw it happening as JJ McCarthy has now put 2 good games together. Arguably still last week was his best game, and then this past week was pretty good too. And it was starting to connect with Jefferson. You could argue that he should have caught the one. I still don't think it was a great placement, obviously, though whatever it might be in that situation. Not too much fault in McCarthy on that, but there was a touchdown possibility. There was another big play possibility. It's starting to build. Like, what a surprise that a rookie needed some time. Like, the ones that were like, he's the best rookie ever, and then the other side of it where like he's trashed. Like, wow, there's a middle ground. Cool. Like, it can be both. It could be like he needs time to develop. And I was still not enamored with McCarthy, but I saw the rapport starting to build with Jefferson. He wants it to happen. The team wants it to happen. Jefferson wants it to happen. And going against the Giants, I'm finally going to have Justin Jefferson pushing for the first time, I think, in about 5 weeks, pushing the top 20 wide receivers, which might sound like that's not a flag plant. But for me, that's the highest I've had him in. Like, I've had him down almost at the 30, like around wide receiver 25, 27, 28, because it hasn't been there. And now is finally the time to jump on board.
Yeah, it's a lot of ifs and wants and candies and nuts, I think, there, Jake. But
I was trying to convince you. Did I get you kind of there?
I've been the person on the record saying give JJ McCarthy time. I think Justin Jefferson is someone you have to start in your fantasy football playoffs, and that the breakout game 30-point type of banger is coming. But Fitz, I just don't know if we see it. I thought it was last week. Like, I get it's a great matchup here, but it was also a great matchup against Dallas, and it just didn't come to fruition.
I know, and he should have that touchdown. It went right through his mitts last week. And I mean, Jake knows how. I know Jake is a reformed Giants fan. Former ex-Giants fan, but like I know Jake still has his finger on the pulse, and he knows how bad that pass defense has been. And I agree, it's a really nice matchup. And I do have a little bit of trepidation with it just doesn't seem like Jefferson is right himself, maybe, and maybe it's just a product of frustration with the way things have gone all season with the quarterback position. But I've still got him quarterback 21, and the questions I'm getting start-sit questions involving Jefferson are comparing him to guys like Jaden Reed and Khalil Shakir. I'm starting him over those guys.
Okay.
Wait, wide receiver 21, or were you talking about McCarthy too? Because you said quarterback. I just want to clarify.
Oh, sorry. Wide receiver 21 for Jefferson.
Okay. Yeah.
Like
I was curious if you were pulling McCarthy into the conversation. Would you go Terry against the Eagles, or would you go Jefferson against the Giants?
I've got Terry ranked like 2 spots higher. I think we might. Do we have that debate coming up later? Should we bottle that? Let's stick a cork in that for now. I think McLaurin is coming back.
Terry McLaurin versus somebody else later. There you go.
But for me, that would be McLaurin by a very slim margin over Jefferson. What about you, Jake?
Apparently, every time, like Seth, I will make sure like that we don't have a dog sickness in the future, and I read through your entire sheet, because every player that comes to mind is in your sheet. I think I would actually I initially, when I did my rankings, had McLaurin in front of Jefferson, but it's so close that if my projections, which I do on Thursdays, if it spits it out the opposite direction, I'll flip it.
Yeah, it is close for sure.
So, Jake, you're telling me I should bet the Justin Jefferson over receiving yards prop again? Because usually that's how it goes. I get burned by a player and I don't go back to him. I know last week I think I bet it at 51.5. I'm not sure what it opened up at this week, but
if you can get it under 60, I would take over.
That's okay. I want to chase the touchdown. Like, if it wasn't for the fact I was on tight end this week, Justin Jefferson would have been my touchdown call.
Plus 135 right now for a touchdown. Receiving yards 52.5.
Yeah, the yards. I'm with Fitz on the yards. That's not even that great on the touch. That's still just acknowledging he's Justin Jefferson.
Right.
Stop.
Right. And no worries, Jake, on the sheet. I was actually a little late getting to it. I fell asleep in the recliner late last night. I still had a Zin in the upper decky. Like that's where I was. That's kind of, I think, where we are as a testament to the season. Just continue to kind of grind and get through this slog that is the fantasy football playoffs. Gentlemen, though, let's go ahead and let's move forward with our start-sit debates. I want to start at the running back position. Aaron Jones of the Minnesota Vikings, Ashton Jeanty of the Raiders. Frankly, I can't believe we are having this conversation. I was so high on Ashton Jeanty, and he feels broken right now, right? After totaling just 80 yards in the last 2 games without Chip Kelly at offensive coordinator. Seems like that actually might have helped him having Chip out there. And it's also unknown whether it's going to be Geno Smith or Kenny Pickett under center for the Raiders when they travel to Houston. He's ECR RB26. Aaron Jones, meanwhile, he slots in at RB22. He's delivered 4 straight single-digit performances, but he does have a really strong matchup against your New York Giants, Jake. So where are you going between Jones and Jeanty?
So this is how they get me, is because I'm not the Giants, and I haven't been the Giants since the second year of Daniel Jones, is that everything, like I have JJ McCarthy as one of my favorite if you lost Mahomes quarterbacks. I have Aaron Jones in front of Jeanty and going against that Giants run defense, which is also miserable. I love Justin Jefferson. So this is what's going to happen. They're going to win 28-3, also ruin their draft pick at the same time, and this is because this is what happens the Giants do. But no, it really comes down to, yes, I know Jones has been more consistent than valuable in fantasy, but the run defense for the Giants, especially getting into space, has just been abysmal. Is basically as soon as you could get past that offense or get past the offensive line / defensive line and get into space, it's really about their secondary too. I mean, they've just picked up a practice squad linebacker because of how thin they are in that area of the team. So I have Jones there. Like, I would consider moving Jeanty up a spot or two. I have him at 25 right now if it is Geno Smith over Kenny Pickett, which, by the way, one of the 10 worst yards per attempt performances in the last 25 years. Since the turn of the century, it was one of the 10 worst yards per attempt. It is so miserable down there with names that Tavares Jackson, people you don't want to be named with. So
is Nathan Peterman on that list?
No, surprisingly.
Okay.
Actually, real quick, we need to move on from this, but do you want to guess the worst performance in the last 25 years, just in purely yards per attempt?
Fitz, you got an idea?
Here's a big hint. He has a brother who played quarterback, and he's a Hall of Famer.
Is it Derek Carr? Oh, wait. No. His brother's not a Hall of Famer. Is it Eli Manning?
It's the other. Peyton Manning, 1.8 yards per attempt in that final season in 2015 in one of those games. Wow. Cooper Rush 2.0, Chris Winkie 2.2, Brandon Allen 2.3. Like, that's how bad it. These are the other names, and yet Peyton Manning in that worst season, that last season. But anyway, Aaron Jones, a few spots, but I would move Jeanty up. I would always have it as a coin flip with Jeanty if Geno was back at quarterback.
Okay, Pat, Jones or Jeanty for you?
Yeah, I've got Jones ranked higher. Entirely matchup based. I would rather have a timeshare back against a bad run defense than a workhorse in an offense that just generated 75 yards of offense in a single game against the Eagles last week and now goes against an even better defense in the Houston Texans.
Okay, fair enough. Let's get to another running back debate where I've got a bone to pick with this one. Tony Pollard of the Tennessee Titans versus Kenneth Gainwell. Pollard, he has looked really spry over the past 2 weeks. I don't know what has happened. He's totaled 265 rushing yards, 3 total touchdowns in that span. He is slotted in right now as the RB27 in ECR. He's going up against the Patrick Mahomes-less Chiefs in Nashville. And then Kenneth Gainwell. This guy's been the RB6 over the past 5 weeks, and it's like nobody in the world cares. He is still somehow listed at RB30. He's really like the number one option in the Steelers passing game. That's what we're looking at right now. They're traveling to Detroit. I think game script plays into that fact that Kenneth Gainwell could have 6 to 7 receptions again. Pat, do you have any read here on Pollard and Gainwell and why the overall rankers just seem down on the Steelers RB2?
Yeah, I mean, the only thing I know Gainwell has been catching a lot of passes lately, Seth, and maybe he does that against the Lions, but he has had 3 or fewer catches in half his games this year.
That's fair.
So, and if he doesn't have more than 3 catches against the Lions, he is probably not going to have a very good fantasy day because the Lions are so tough against the run, and Gainwell has had fewer than 10 carries in 11 of his 14 games. So there's not a steady floor of rushing game usage. And if he doesn't have a big day as a pass catcher, then he's probably going to brick for you. And I actually have Pollard ranked 2 spots higher. I don't know why it's working, but the Titans running game is suddenly working. Pollard has had 2 straight 100-yard rushing games, 3 touchdown runs in those 2 games, and he's averaging 6.8 yards per carry over the last 2 weeks. And it's not like he has a terrible run game matchup this week. So Andrew Erickson mentioned on a show yesterday, he thinks there are some incentives in Pollard's contract that maybe have him all fired up. I'm going to have to check on what those incentives are, but for whatever reason, Tony Pollard is suddenly coming to life in the last couple of weeks here, and I'm kind of buying it.
This is like your friend who he flunks the semester totally and like finals are coming up and he's like, I gotta get 100% on this final to get my grade and pass. That's what Tony Pollard's doing right now.
Pollard's doing it somehow. He's like,
I know.
Stop, quit drinking and crazy.
He's out there. He's being a model student for the last week or so of the season.
Right.
Jake, where are you at here on Tony P versus Kenny G?
So the bonuses, surprisingly enough, 250,000 if he gets 1,100 rushing yards. He's at 847 with 3 games to go.
Dude, he's not getting there. That's crazy.
I don't know. I mean, that's like, what does he need? 250, 253 to get there? He might. And then here's the more interesting one: another 200,000 if he scores 7 rushing touchdowns. He already has 5. So
wow,
maybe. Like you said, maybe like he's just like, oh crap, I've got to pass this class and then like get my crap together. On top of it, Tajay Spears hasn't been impressive. I get the Gainwell thing. You just brought it up. A lot of it's been the pass catching. I don't know if this was also because I'm like, and part of me wants to dig my heels in after last week where Fitz and I both agreed going against the Lions. And then of course, score touchdowns all day long in the run game against the Lions because that's what we bring up. But it's still the Lions, and I still feel that a split backfield is what's turned into now. We're going back to bell cow Tony Pollard, and bell cow Tony Pollard has never been super inspiring, but he's been a fringe RB2 is always what I said. Is he still a low-end RB2 is why I didn't want Pollard, but I was still, as a low-end RB2, have him just in front of Kenneth Gainwell. So I actually agree with Fitz on this one as well.
I wonder if Tony made like a promise to his wife, like get her something really nice for Christmas, or like they have a trip to the Bahamas lined
that
up.
Almost $500,000.
Yeah, exactly. Guys, before we keep it moving, if you're like us and you hate when the fantasy season ends just before real football gets the best, you've got to try PlayoffBlitz.com. It's fantasy football built for the NFL playoffs. No drafts, no waivers, no sweat. Members, all you got to do is pick up a lineup for every single week of the NFL postseason of the playoff teams, and you can only use one player once. So that means after you're done using them, you gotta lose them. That's where the strategy kicks in. And remember, no need to host a draft. Just create a league and invite your friends. Starting a league is super easy, and it takes less than a minute, and you're already set for the wild card weekend all the way through the playoffs into the Super Bowl weekend. PlayoffBlitz.com is your home for playoff fantasy football. Leagues are just $79, and you can invite really as many people as you want. So run an office pool, invite your regular season fantasy football league, or heck, even get grandma's bingo club involved. Join today at PlayoffBlitz.com, where fantasy football meets the Super Bowl. Enter the promo code FantasyPros for a discount. Again, that's PlayoffBlitz.com, promo code FantasyPros for a discount on your league today. Let's get to the wide receiver debate, starting with Ladd McConkey of the Chargers, Emeka Egbuka of Tampa Bay. Ladd, he's failed to reach double-digit fantasy points in 3 of his last 4 games, but does get what should be a great matchup against the Dallas Cowboys, puts him at ECR RB, or wide receiver 23, and then Emeka Egbuka, he got off to maybe the hottest start of the season. He's now wide receiver 47 since week 6 on a points-per-game basis. Mike Evans back, Chris Godwin back, both getting fully healthy for this tilt against the Carolina Panthers, leaving Egbuka at ECR wide receiver 30. Fitz, where do you stand here on Ladd McConkey versus Emeka?
Yeah, it's Ladd, and the matchup is sort of a big reason why, because Ladd has had 84 receiving yards over his last 4 games, and 21 yards a game, 2.5 catches a game over the last month. And it's a big part of it is because the Chargers offensive line is having such a hard time protecting Justin Herbert. Mm-hmm. So Ladd is wide receiver 70 in PPR fantasy scoring over his last 4 games. But Evans is back, Mike Evans back for the Buccaneers. And last week was just the second time since week 5 that Emeka Egbuka has had double-digit PPR points. And he just barely got there with 10.4. And the Panthers have been a slightly tougher than average matchup against wide receivers. I think they've allowed something like the 10th fewest PPR points. So I'm going Ladd here and hoping he can cash in on a pretty good matchup.
Okay, what about you, Jake?
Yeah, this one's close, but I'm actually going the other way. And I'm not going to say that Fitz is crazy at all by this one, but I'm just looking at Justin Herbert, and that even before this injury, he has one single game since week 6 that he's thrown over 30 times. And that was the only other game that he even completed 20 passes. Everything else was fewer than 20 completions. And the last 3 games since the bye with the injury factored in, averaging 167 passing yards per game, 167. And I'm not saying the matchup's great. I have them super close. Let me make that clear. Is I still have them inside the 20s. But similar to what I was bringing up about Jefferson is what we saw from Egbuka, just watching that game, is Baker was back to kind of Baker with everybody being back, Evans included. And Evans was like 100%, but it was kind of the speculation that Fitz and I talked about last week, and like a lot of people have been speculating out, is that since losing Mike Evans, Egbuka wasn't Egbuka. Egbuka was struggling to be the number 1 outside, and that's when Godwin came back, didn't help him so much because he was still struggling with what he was struggling with, is being kind of like Anquan Boldin when he was asked to be the one instead of having somebody of his equitable talent across from him. And you saw that he went from being a really nice wide receiver 2, that being Boldin and Egbuka, to these wide receiver 1s that can put up numbers with the ones across from them. So I'm basing a lot off that one game, but I like how Baker looked. I like how Evans looked, and I have my faith restored in Egbuka, who's another one similar to Jefferson that I wasn't even ranking inside the top 30 for a couple weeks there. It's super close, but I'm going to give Egbuka the edge despite the matchup that I agree with Fitz on.
Okay, we have another wide receiver debate to settle. Michael Pittman Jr. of the Colts against DJ Moore of the Chicago Bears. Uncle Phil, he almost got it done against the Seahawks last week, but Michael Pittman Jr. really did not deliver in that performance, just 5.6 fantasy points. He does have a better matchup in Week 16 against the 49ers, currently ECR wide receiver 26. DJ Moore, meanwhile, he's delivered 2 wide receiver 1 finishes in the past month, but also has had some real stinkers in there, right? Wide receiver 68, wide receiver 99. Those multi-score games are what is boosting DJ Moore as well. Rome Odunze, Luther Burden III both missed practice on Wednesday ahead of this rematch against your Green Bay Packers, Fitz. So where do you stand on Moore and Michael Pittman?
Yeah, I have Moore ranked one spot higher, and that gap is going to widen if Luther Burden can't go for the Bears, because I've still got Burden in my rankings. Pittman 3 catches for 26 yards last week. I just don't really want to invest in the Colts passing game, and I know it's been up and down for DJ Moore, but you figure he would have to get half a dozen targets at minimum this week if Burden and Odunze don't play.
Okay. What about you, Jake?
Yeah, it's fun. I actually have a 6-spot gap with Burden in the ranks, but no Odunze, so it'll even widen more. For more. Of course, this wonderful that not everybody got to update their ranks last week. I'm not saying for Fantasy Pros, I'm saying because of the Bears is like, oh, by the way, 12:56, Rome Odunze's not playing, and we're all in a full scramble fest over here. Thanks a lot. But you saw the fact is what we know is that once you get down to 2 options, and it might be one, as Fitz just brought up, it might be DJ Moore and Zacchaeus with Colston Loveland. That situation happens. We are talking Colston Loveland, so I'll save that one for later. But DJ Moore is already pushing. He's inside my top 30. He's pushing my top 25. Like, so much so that the fact that there's no Burden, DJ Moore would be in front of Egbuka. I think that the gap needs to be bigger, because even the Tyler Warren part, where the process was right, he was the most targeted player by Phillip Rivers, but 6 catches for 3 receptions and 19 yards. I mean, we saw it. We saw what's left of Phillip Rivers, and it's not much.
Yeah, I am with you there. It was just cool to see him out there, though, right? Like, it really was like the story of the weekend, I think.
It was cool, but it's a warning not to ever do this again.
Yeah.
Hey, if Big Ben wants to come back in the future and play for the Steelers, I'm here for it. Listen, I'll take it for the nostalgia. Like, I've already got my.
You think Rivers looked thick? Could you imagine?
Ben actually's thinned down a little bit from what I've heard out on the streets. Yeah. He's been cutting back the IPAs, going back with some old domestic beers is what I hear. So looking forward to hopefully that. Also, already looking in for my Canton reservations for the Pro Football Hall of Fame inauguration with Big Ben. Really hope he gets there here in just a little bit longer. Let's make sure that we remind everyone as well that you can say goodbye to start-sit dilemmas with the Fantasy Pros start-sit assistant. Within just seconds, you'll know exactly who to play and who to sit for optimal results every single week. Leverage insights from numerous experts. The start-sit assistant aligns your lineup decisions with the top minds in fantasy football, giving you a competitive edge over your league mates. Maximize your lineup's potential with just a few clicks. Head to fantasypros.com/myplaybook or download the free Fantasy Pros app today and make winning decisions in no time. Gentlemen, let's speed things up for the rapid fire debates. We have O'Marion Hampton coming in first. ECR 24 at Dallas against Rico Dowdle, who's really kind of fallen off a cliff a little bit. ECR RB 23 against Tampa Bay. Jake, Hampton, Dowdle, who do you got?
I have Dowdle 1 spot in front of Hampton as of today, but if we have the situation when Quinn Williams is out, Hampton will leapfrog Dowdle, and that's really what it comes down to, because the Cowboys matchup is not favorable since they made those trade deadline moves, and it's not quite as bad as Tampa Bay, but it's right there, and it's enough that I will flip them if Williams is out.
Pat, what about you?
Yeah, I like Hampton a little more. He's had 28 carries and 3 catches in his first 2 games back. And yes, he is sharing work with Kamani Vidal, but Hampton has gotten a touch on 66% of his offensive snaps in his first 2 games back. And they just have to run the ball. They have to, because the Chargers' offensive line can't protect Herbert. And that should be easier against Dallas if Quinn Williams is out, as Jake mentioned. So Rico has been sharing more work with Chuba Hubbard. Rico's averaged 3.2 yards per carry over his last 5 games. And, other than the Rams, he really hasn't faced a top run defense over that stretch. So it's not like all matchup based that he's been this much less efficient. So in this week, he's going against the Buccaneers, who one thing they usually do pretty well on defense under Todd Bowles. And they're not doing much well these days, but they are usually pretty tough against the run.
Okay, let's go to wide receiver Terry McLaurin, ECR wide receiver, I think 21 right now against Philly, and then Jalen Waddle, ECR wide receiver 13 against Cincinnati. Pat, how do you sort between McLaurin and Waddle?
It's not an easy matchup for McLaurin, but I'm going to go with him over Waddle, who not only am I worried about Quinn Ewers, I'm worried about Waddle's matchup with DJ Turner, like who has very quietly been the Bengals' best defender this year and has shut down some pretty good wide receivers.
Okay, what about you, Jake?
I slightly lean the other way, and I think that, I think both being top 20, 22 at worst, you probably want them both in your lineup. I think my bigger thing is that, not that I disagree at all with Fitz, that I thought about the Turner thing, and that kind of gave me more, it gave me more pause than the Ewers situation. I think Ewers can do fine. I go back to the whole Tua thing, and if you want Ewers and he has lesser arm Sam Darnold, as we talked about when we brought this up, well, where do you go with Waddle? Over the middle of the field and take advantage of throwing him open, which hopefully that Ewers can do, as you've seen the flashes of. I'm talking about in college, obviously, because we haven't seen the NFL much. But I give Waddle the slight edge just because the clear one going against the Eagles for the clear one with McLaurin. The Eagles. Maybe I'm overrating the Eagles matchup, but they just worry me this time of year.
All right, so some flex debates for you guys. Brian Thomas Jr., ECR wide receiver 28 at Denver, and then DeAndre Swift, ECR RB17 against the Packers. Fitz, you have some investment in this game. How do you sort out Swift and BTJ?
Swift by a wide margin for me in this one, Seth, just because the Bears have been fantastic at running the ball over the last 2 months. I think you can make a case that their offensive line has been like the best run blocking offensive line in the league for most of this season. It's probably either them or the Rams. And they're going to be run heavy, I think, with some of the injury problems they're having at wide receiver. And they've been run heavy anyway over the last month or so. So I think it's rather than, go with BTJ, who's been streaky this year and has this tough matchup against the Broncos, I'm going to ride with Swift.
What about you, Jake?
Yeah, so last week, Fitz knows this, I brought up the fact that Swift is one of the best at not getting stuffed and not to worry about the Browns matchup, and we were locked in on that one. And I'm going right back with Swift. Again, it's not it's the better matchup than it was last week, and it's even better without the injury of Micah Parsons. But I love Brian Thomas, and I had him pushing my top 20 last week, as in he looks 100%. That was another conversation we had last week. But he's facing the Broncos, and you just have to take that with a little bit of like, hey, you know what? That matters enough that even if, like I'm with Fitz, it's actually a bigger gap than it might sound like I'm saying. It's by I'd say about 20 players purely at flex alone.
Oh, wow.
I'm on Swift, and, if it was last week, it'd be tighter, but this week with the Broncos factored in, I want to get Thomas in my lineup, but I could see you having better options.
Okay, at the flex position as well, Zay Flowers, ECR wide receiver 19 against the Patriots, or Quinshon Judkins, ECR RB18 against Buffalo. Jake, do you have a lean between these two AFC North players?
Yeah, recuse myself from ever wanting to rank Zay Flowers. I don't have Zay Flowers is just always going to be wrong. And that's kind of the joke that I made a few weeks ago, because that's obviously Worm's boy. Well, not really. It's from his team. He complains about as much as anybody. And we talked about he doesn't score touchdowns. What did he do that one week? Scored a touchdown, because that's what exactly happens. Zay Flowers, ranking him as wide receiver 20 is always wrong. It's either 10 spots too low, or it's 20 spots too high.
Yeah.
But I'm going with Judkins in this one. It's by a slight. The Buffalo run defense still hasn't been good. And the good thing about Judkins and Sanders taking over, you're seeing a little bit more of the pass catching opportunities out of the backfield, which is what we like to see. You still worry. We've seen him pulled off the field at times, but if they can keep close somehow in this game, Judkins slight lean, which just means Zay Flowers is going to have 110 yards and a touchdown. So just mark it down right now. Just bet the over.
Okay, Pat, do you want Lamar Jackson's wide receiver 1 or the RB1 in the Cleveland backfield along the shores of Lake Erie?
Well, since Jake just ensured that Flowers is going to go for 100 yards, then I got to take Flowers. And, for all the grumbling that Ryan Wormley and other people have done about, say, Flowers because he hasn't scored touchdowns, the dude is averaging 5.1 catches and 68.5 receiving yards a game.
Yeah, it's
and he's had more than 60 receiving yards in 10 of his 14 games. So the floor has actually been pretty sturdy with him.
Yeah.
And meanwhile, Judkins, over his last 9 games, he's averaging 3.1 yards per carry. And right now, basically all of the Browns' offensive linemen are dealing with injuries, and they're either going to play hurt or not play this week. So Judkins has scored 2 touchdowns in his last 7 games, and they both came in the same game. So you're not really getting touchdown value out of him either. I'll take Flowers here.
All right, how about
fine? I'll go Flowers too, just to screw it all up.
Okay, all right. Jake's on board, so get off the ship. Let's go to Breece Hall, ECR RB21 at the Saints, or Jacoby Meyers, who's been really nice since coming over to Jacksonville. ECR wide receiver 22 at Denver, though. Pat, how do you split the difference here? Hall, Meyers.
Oh man. Even though Meyers is maybe going to be affected less by this tough matchup against the Broncos because he's a slot guy and probably isn't going to see a lot of Patrick Surtain Jr. Not that he's the only good cover guy the Broncos have, but I think this is close to a toss-up, and I am going to invoke the Bob Harris law of flex decisions and go with the running back over the wide receiver and go with Breece Hall.
All right. Shout out Bob Harris. What about you, Jake?
I thought Fitz was going to go the same way with the argument that he just made for Judkins, because if you look at Breece Hall's last 4 games, 2.8, 3.6, 3.1, 1.9 yards per carry, that offense has been miserable. That being said, my answer, if you went to me first, was basically it's contingent on Tyrod Taylor. I want to actually go Jacoby Meyers if it's Brady Cook, and if not, I would flip to Breece Hall easily if it's Tyrod Taylor. It's just how bad this offense has looked with Brady Cook. And Brady Cook's running on his own. It's just he's also throwing interceptions and not making this offense move very well. So even though it's against the Saints, I'll give the slight edge to Jacoby unless Tyrod's at quarterback.
Okay. And how about Cortland Sutton, ECR wide receiver 18 against Jacksonville, or Tyrone Tracy, ECR, I believe he's coming in RB26 right now against the Minnesota Vikings. Jake, any lean between your New York Giants running back or Sutton?
My New York Giants. How long I do? See how I missed? That was me on Tyrone Tracy last week. I was legit worried that every single week it has been like split, and not knowing which way the lean's going to go. And the game right before their bye, it was 11-11 touch-wise before Tracy left the game. And then you come back after the bye and like, hey, maybe that's going to be more of what we saw. And they heavily leaned on Tyrone Tracy. The one area they still don't, it happened like one game, is they went to Singletary again inside the 10-yard line and inside the 5. So that's always a threat. But, I mean, we have that threat with other running backs. We've had that threat with DeAndre Swift for a while now with Kyle Monangai. So I'm going to go Tyrone Tracy. I have him in front of Judkins. I have him in front of Hull. I have him in front of Aaron Jones. So, you can go down the list. I know the Vikings matchup is problems. Flores' defense was basically don't play him, don't play against him, don't play against him. And then we had that dip where it's like, oh, what happened to the defense? Everybody's figured it out.
Yeah.
And he's adjusted back. And now all of a sudden it's like they're coming for everybody. We just saw what happened with the Cowboys. So I know that's worrisome, but I'm still going to give Tracy the slight edge here.
Yeah, I agree about that defense. I'm on the Giants or the Minnesota Vikings against the Giants at 2.5 points this week. Pat, how do you see this one shaking out between Sutton and Tracy?
I'm with Jake and having Tracy over Sutton, and I am with Jake and having whiffed on Tracy last week because of the way things had gone in that backfield. And Tracy played 76.5% of the offensive snaps last week against the Commanders. Maybe it's not like that again. Maybe it's more of a 50-50 with Devin Singletary, but I think we can lean into the matchup, not because the Vikings have a terrible run defense, but they are the biggest run funnel in the league. They've faced the most rushing attempts by opposing running backs, 26.6 running back carries a game against the Vikings, who, by the way, have not given up a touchdown pass since November 9th. So the Vikings have been ridiculously hard to throw on lately. Brian Flores has been totally in his bag, dialing up some nasty stuff for quarterbacks. I think the Giants are probably going to try to run to protect their asset with Jackson Dart and keep him from getting killed. And
he might run and get killed.
he might do that anyway because that seems to be his inclination. And it's just Cortland Sutton. I know he's been hot. He started fast this season, like 3 or 4 games in, he was going great guns. Then he really cooled off for a while. Now he's getting hot again. But I just kind of want to be even keel with how I regard him. And right now, I think Tracy is slightly more appealing to me.
Okay. Yeah, it feels like the Vikings right now, like they're really getting out in front of teams fast and then just playing great defense, pinning back their ears. And, that's kind of been the struggle, right, for the Giants, right? They've been behind early, I think down 10-0 going into the second quarter last 2 weeks. So definitely want to see that improve potentially. But for game script wise, Tyrone Tracy, I think he's fine either way because he can get those dump offs. Let's go to quarterback here. Brock Purdy, ECR quarterback 4 at Indianapolis. Jared Goff, ECR QB9 against Pittsburgh. Pat, a lot of people had Mahomes, that they need a potential replacement. Do you like Purdy or Jared Goff in that situation?
Right now, I've got Purdy ranked QB5 and Goff QB6. It's close enough that if so Charvarius Ward is going to be out for the Colts. Their number 2 cornerback, he's on IR. But Sauce Gardner, I think, is considered questionable. If Sauce comes back and plays against the 49ers, I would flip Goff ahead of Brock Purdy. But it's that close for me. Pretty close to being a coin flip.
Ciely?
I'm actually going Goff. I got a lot of questions about this. Why am I so down on Purdy? And it really just comes down to, like, I just don't think the 49ers need Purdy, especially in this game. And if you look over his last couple, hasn't been throwing a ton. It's 3 touchdowns, 1 touchdown, 1 touchdown, 3 touchdowns. Of course, he can get the 3, and it's not a worrisome so much matchup. But, I mean, I go back to Goff, and since the bye, 15 was kind of in. But then right after that, what was that thing? Oh, yeah, Dan Campbell took over 5, 17, 9, 9, 14, 5. He has 2 non-top 10 performances. They're back to throwing even while they're up. It's a matchup we're not worried about. What do you do against Pittsburgh? You throw the ball at home, even better. So I have him super close. Like, I'm not saying that Fitz is crazy. And like, even if he holds with his ranking in front of Purdy, I'm not like, oh my God, you're stupid. It's just, I have a lot of faith in Goff right now and just what they're doing. More so that they're going to have him pass no matter what. Whereas Purdy just might fall into, I don't need to do anything more than throw 1 touchdown.
That's a good point.
Okay. All right, let's get to tight ends. Dalton Schultz, ECR tight end 9 against the Las Vegas Raider, or Colston Loveland, ECR tight end 14 against Green Bay. Jake, you're not biased, I know, when it comes to Bears-Packers, so who do you have at tight end?
I'm not, but I am biased in the situation that I mentioned earlier, as I already don't have Odunze in, and that's Loveland at 10 and Schultz at 11. At Loveland, 11. And then if there is no burden on top of that, heck, I might consider Loveland over like a Goddard type. I don't know how much further I can get on this, but it really just comes down to the fact that Loveland's in the opportunity that we saw earlier this year where he had those about 2 game stretches. Like, there's very few people involved. Loveland stock up. Komet's a little bit banged up. It sounds like he should be okay, though. But it really just comes down to the void at wide receiver and going against Green Bay in a game that I feel like they really want to go out there and win, obviously. Schultz has just been consistent. I would say consistency is Schultz's game. So if you're worried about Loveland leaving you hanging, I would go Schultz. But I have Loveland 1 spot in front of him.
Yeah, Fitz, this is certainly a floor versus ceiling conversation. How do you dice it up?
Similar to Jake, it's kind of dependent on the status of Luther Burden. As of now, it's Schultz for me. And Schultz is very quietly now up to 70 catches on the season. Yeah. And he's had 8 or more targets in all but 2 of his last 7 games. So he's actually been a pretty big part of the Texans' passing attack. And but if Luther Burden is ruled out for the Bears and he didn't practice on Wednesday because of this ankle injury, then I might end up having Loveland ranked right next to Schultz, either like 1 spot higher or 1 spot lower.
Okay. Gentlemen, we're about to jump into our touchdown calls of the week, but first, a reminder that you can join our free touchdown calls contest in the Fantasy Pros Discord community. Each week, we're going to pick 4 players who we think are going to score, and you also get a bonus flex with a double as well. Weekly winners, you're going to get a $25 Fantasy Pros gift card, and the season champ, it takes home a signed Bijan Robinson Atlanta Falcons jersey. So go ahead, get playing now. Go to fantasypros.com/chat. Head to the Touchdown Calls contest channel. And gentlemen, let's jump right in here. Fitz, who is your running back TD call of the week?
Yeah, Bucky Irving. And I know Bucky gets pulled at the goal line, which is frustrating. So he's just going to have to score from, outside the 10-yard line this week, and he's going to do it.
Okay. I'm taking Olamide. I can never say this guy's name. Olamide. There we go. Zacchaeus, wide receiver with the Chicago Bears. I literally watched a 3-minute tutorial this morning on how to say this guy's name. Still can't get it. But I love the odds, right? Plus 360. Zacchaeus, he's played over 79% of the snaps in back-to-back weeks. No Rome in those weeks. We also saw 1 red zone target in both those games. Now Luther Burden banged up, as we were talking about earlier. The Lions have allowed the second most touchdowns to opposing wide receivers over the past month, with slot receivers, including Zacchaeus himself in Week 14, finding pay dirt in back-to-back games. Give me a little long shot on Olamide Zacchaeus. Hopefully I got that one right that time. Jake, where are you going at the tight end position?
Yeah, that's like Okuebu Nam was his name. Like that's but when I looked at his name, I could never say I knew it, but then you look at his name and your brain just breaks because it looks nothing like that. Speaking of tight ends, and that's where we're at. I got to get off the schneid, by the way. I think what was it, Fitz? I started like 7 to 8 on the year, and I think I've got one since. I've been on a little bit of a downturn here, which might be why I'm going somewhere where people might be thinking of is Travis Kelce at tight end, because mostly Gardner Minshew's not terrible. Everybody's like, I don't want to play blank. I don't want to play blank. Yeah. I don't want to play all these guys for the Chiefs. And it's like, they're not turning to Max Brosmer. They're turning to Gardner Minshew. Gardner Minshew's going to be aggressive. He's going to throw. If you look at the Titans, I had this pulled up. So the last 3 games, touchdown to Strange, touchdown to Fannin and Njoku, touchdown to Kittle. Those are bigger names, obviously, but those are bigger names, similar in the facet of Travis Kelce, who also might be playing without Rashee Rice. I think the only concern here for Travis Kelce might just be if the Chiefs completely check out and pull him off the field, because I feel like this could be one of those vintage Kelce 7-8 receptions, 100 yards and a touchdown, just because they're hurting so bad for options right now.
Yeah, I like it, man. I'm on the Gardner Minshew over passing yards this week. I actually have Travis Kelce already bet at the anytime touchdown number as well, so I like where your head's at, Jake. A quick reminder as we get out of here as well that you can dominate your fantasy football league with Fantasy Pros Premium, now available for free for 6 months when you deposit and place your first wager at any of our partner sportsbooks, and that does include a Hard Rock Bet, baby. So the easiest free way to get full access to our top fantasy football tools all season long, just go to fantasypros.com/premium and get yourself started. And gentlemen, that is going to do it for us today on this episode of the Fantasy Pros Fantasy Football Podcast. A quick reminder, next week's Start Sit Show will be released a little bit later in the week due to the holiday schedule. Comment down below your toughest Week 16 Start Sit calls. We want to hear from you. And while you're here, make sure you're smashing that like button and subscribing to the channel if you're new. For Jake Ciely and Pat Fitzmaurice, I'm Seth Woolcock. Take care, y'all.